For the first time in Hollywood of any kind, the union representing 11,500 film, TV, and other entertainment writers have gone on strike. Streaming services are at the center of the fight as the Guild argues budgets are increasing, but writers' shares are shrinking. So-called mini rooms, where streaming services use smaller staffs for shorter stints, has made consistent work hard to come by, all as the number of writers working at Guild minimums have shrank to about half over the past 10 years. Tack on inflation, and it's led to quite a mess. TV series writers average nearly $132,000 annually, while writers on streaming shows average some $40,000 less, though the seasons are shorter. Now, to discuss a little bit more on this, I want to bring in Los Angeles-based employment attorney and mediator Angela Reddock-Wright with the Reddock firm. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We sure do appreciate it. How are you? And let's jump right into it. Tell me about some of the latest background on what we know on this strike itself.
I'm great, and thank you so much for having me on. So this Writers Guild strike, although there were attempts to avert it, we're very sad to see that is happening, but understand why it's happening. We haven't seen such a strike by the Writers Guild since 2007, and at that time, the world of media and scripted TV was very different. You know, we could count on our weekly or our daily scripted TV shows, and writers benefited from that, and that they received residuals based on the actual show, and then when the show went into syndication. In this last 20 plus years, the landscape has changed quite a bit, where streaming is set to kind of take over traditional TV if it hasn't already. And so what that means is a new day for writers. While it creates new opportunities, it ensures that writers are able to continue writing and working, but it greatly reduces the profits for shows and the amounts that writers can make based on their commitment to shows. So 2007, that strike went for about 100 days. We don't know yet how long this strike will go. It just started this week. But it seems that there's some real issues of dispute. And when we talk dollars, probably close to $100 million in the difference of what the Writers Guild members are asking for versus what's being negotiated by the Alliance of Motion Pictures television producers.
Now, it seems like quite a bit of a difference. Do you think that they're going to be able to reach any similar agreement or any, even get close to an agreement on that?
Well, I don't think there's an option, right? Clearly, the producers have to go through writers to have writing for their shows. So I think eventually they will have to reach a deal. We've seen a number of TV personalities and celebrities joining the strikes, and many stepping up, like Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and others, saying we need these writers for our shows. So I think as the writers get support from the talent, that eventually there will be a deal. There simply is no other option. The producers out, unless they're just going to do all reality TV, which, although popular, scripted TV has a big following, especially, with the onset of so many popular streaming shows. So I think the public's also going to demand that we want our shows back, and we want them back sooner than later. And already there's such long periods of time between seasons now. So to imagine that next season will be substantially delayed, I think will disappoint a lot of viewers.
Talk to me about the TV and film writing industry itself. I understand that it's very stressful. These seasons last 20 to 29 weeks at a time, depending on the show. But then the writers have to go look for work, right? So they're jamming, they're getting the work together, and then they have to look somewhere else. Talk to me about the financial security then that maybe writers are seeking in this, and especially as times begin to change with streaming services, as well as television, of course, shows changing, miniseries becoming far more popular. What's the pressure on these writers and the impact on their financial security?
Well, substantial pressure and impact on their financial security. And when you said that the writing season would sometimes go for 29 weeks or more, I actually think, writers like that because it gave them job security and let them know that at minimum they would be on the show for a certain period of time. And at the heart of the negotiations and what caused the strike are two primary issues. One is that writers wanted studios to commit to them at least a certain duration or time period on a show. And then they wanted to ensure that the show is staffed with enough writers. So with streaming services, the writing time periods and the commitment for having a writer on a show is a lot shorter and the pay is less. So I think writers are looking for that happy medium between what was when you could count on being a show for number of weeks and seasons. You could count on the residuals from that show, and now streaming, which is much shorter, the residuals are lower and the base pay is much lower. So I think writers would love to go back to that place if possible, but we're probably at a point of no return where they had a guaranteed amount of time on a show, and the show ran for many, many seasons at a time.
We all certainly have lost our attention span over the years. That's no doubt on that. In terms of a resolution, how long might this take? Do you expect it to come soon?
Well, the last strike was 100 days. So at minimum, I think we might see another strike for at least 100 days, but hopefully it will be shorter. Hopefully reasonable minds will prevail and they'll have a great mediator involved that will help get them back to the bargaining table and having a meeting of the minds sooner than later.
Angela, any closing thoughts on this?
Just that our writers are so important to our entertainment and media industry. And we know that this landscape is changing. So I'm hopeful that the writers and the producers alliance can, find their way back to the bargaining table, can find their way to finding a way to create a new relationship and new standards for the new entertainment industry and economy that we live in.
Perhaps reset with those changes and start to move forward. Hopefully they can get back to work, reach an agreement there so we can all watch our favorite TV shows. Angela Reddock-Wright,
Yes.
thanks so much for joining us, employment attorney and mediator. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.